Hey everyone, I'm Garrett Konrad, and this is,
Mason Aubuchon.
and we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency in this video series, which is going to be pretty exciting. I will say that I'm very excited for Mason to be talking with me about this because my background is traditional finance and I know very, very little about cryptocurrency. So I myself will be learning a lot. And Mason knows quite a bit about this. I think that he's very interesting because he's the first person who's told me he is specifically not an expert because he feels there is no such thing as a cryptocurrency expert because it's changing too fast. It's still too new technically. But what gets me excited is people who are super, super passionate about what they do. And Mason has a ton of passion when it comes to cryptocurrency. So I'm very excited to see where this series goes and what we all talk about. And I told him a story earlier about how I've really only experienced two people who are super, super passionate about what they do. The first was the midwife who helped with my wife's first pregnancy. And I had no idea I could get so excited just from watching someone else be so excited and passionate about what they do. And then Mason with cryptocurrency. And before I was like, I'm not interested in cryptocurrency. I don't understand where it fits in an investment portfolio. I didn't view it as a long-term investment. But Mason is so passionate, so excited about it that it makes me want to be passionate, excited about it. And so I just want to learn.
And hopefully I can take from that and spread some passion to everybody else because it takes a lot of energy on your part to get in, to get invested, and honestly just to gain information. It's a lot of work to get the right information and get it from sources that are trusted. And in a field with very few experts, if any, who do we trust? And so that's why Bitcoin's fun because you can get straight into the technicals of it. Trust the math. Now, math is changing in our elementary schools, so maybe not so much. However, this math has been tried and tested by many coders, and that's where I've found myself following and YouTubing is a lot of these coders to see what they're doing and what applications they're using to test what engines and what computers. A lot of the computer tech that's out there is changing, and it's changing Bitcoin. That's a big controversial thing right now is the quantum computing. You know, what can happen with quantum computing?
I literally just started reading about that yesterday.
Yeah, I couldn't even describe it to you. Some of the things I've seen come out is they're huge computers. They're like literally the size of a house. So it's not something really that any regular person could get their hands on. So I don't think it's a threat to Bitcoin currently. In the future, it could be. But man, whoever's building that quantum computer is probably going to buy their own Bitcoin first. You know
What's so funny is like right out of the gate already. It's so interesting how our worlds like diverge a little bit, but coincide a little bit because what I was reading about was how there's so much fear on the traditional security side of quantum computing, doing algorithmic trading at a pace where everyday investors and institutions can't really compete anymore. And so it's like, yeah, it's funny to hear that even cryptocurrency has some concern of like, oh, this changes everything or could change everything.
Yeah, it will be a threat long term, and I think we'll adjust to that as it gets closer and becomes more realistic. And there's multiple things about Bitcoin that are getting stronger over the ages as well. Years, I guess. So it's fun to watch the technology grow on the mathematical level because it is getting stronger. There are new layers that are being proposed, and Ethereum's doing it as well. There's lots of things that are being built on top of Ethereum that are making it stronger as well. So it's not just one coin growing, it's the entire community growing and currency as a whole. So it's disruptive. It's changing things and at a record pace, I would say. 10 years ago, Bitcoin didn't exist, and now it's never set number 7 currency on the charts. That's a big deal. I believe the market cap is bigger than the entire Dutch trading market combined. So that's pretty fun to know it's taking over countries' currencies, and hopefully for the best.
So before we get too far in, I will give a disclosure because I am a licensed investment advisor representative. I own a registered investment advisory firm. And so just keep in mind, this is not specific investment advice. And we're just speaking generically. We're just two guys having a conversation about cryptocurrency. I'm excited to learn a little bit about it from Mason. I'm excited to give, hopefully, my thoughts on how it fits into a prudently structured investment portfolio. But we're not giving specific investment advice to anybody. We're not endorsing or promoting any particular security or investment strategy or investment product. We're just kind of sharing ideas and talking about technology and what's changing in the world. And so please don't take this as investment advice. If you do have specific investment questions or need specific investment advice, you can contact your licensed professional, or you can contact me and we can set up a separate one-on-one consultation to actually get into your specific world. With that being said, where do you want to start?
Well, the very beginning. I guess before you're even ready for crypto, you should be in your standard investments first. You should have a portfolio that's built, that's catered to you, that fits your budget, that fits your lifestyle, and it needs to be with a licensed professional, in my opinion. We shouldn't, unless you're studying to do it yourself. If you want to invest yourself, sure, that option's out there. Self-directed funds is a great option. I've been looking to do it for years, have never made the step. It kind of led me down the path that got me to Bitcoin. So find your path, follow it. But man, a professional can get you there so much faster than you can yourself. And that's been something that's been a struggle for me in crypto is I have to do this alone. There's nobody that I can just drive over and have this conversation with. And there are, but I find myself being much more passionate, having much more information, much more research, and so I end up just telling them what I've learned. And so it's been a long road for me where I don't really have much social peer group that's helping me accept what I can find online, and then I'm having to vet those people.
Yeah.
Go through the grinder, because knowing who someone is and whether they're lying is tough. I've seen the scammers. I've been scammed. I've seen people get scammed, and it's rather terrifying.
Well, especially today, too. I feel like everybody is trying to sell you on the idea that you can only make money being in real estate or cryptocurrencies. And it's like, who do you trust and what do you listen to? Because there's so much noise right now.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Like, marketing has gotten out of control. Like, pay-per-click marketing has gotten out of control, I feel, to where it's really hard to find people who really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Ponzi schemes are strong. They're convincing. They pay. The money comes back in. You're able to withdraw, and so it's working. At some point, people are making money and it's working, and they have to allow it to let it work for a certain amount of time until they get to whenever they want to pull the plug. And so I'm battling now that cryptocurrency has exploded, the $20,000 bust hit, now we're at 50 and doubled that market cap and price, which is what everybody's excited about. It's just, I'm fighting people that think they're making money in crypto, and they're stealing money from other people, and they're also taking the market cap of where the money should be, which is in Bitcoin. So I don't even really like talking to those people too much, because they haven't got hurt yet. And when they get hurt, then they're going to maybe fall backwards into, maybe I should learn some safety first to get back into the market. Because chances are the price isn't going to stop once they've got hurt. I know it did for me. And you're just going to be more intrigued. And you're going to remember, if I didn't get hurt there, I'd be to this situation. Right. You kind of get into the doom and gloom situation. But it gave me extra encouragement to get back up. And I did. I went through the valleys. I went through the $20,000 tank to $3,000. And I bought all the way down, baby. I did, and I sold some of the way at the top. I did some vacation things, and it was great. It was cool to also see I could spend Bitcoin on a vacation. That was cool to me. Then when it tanked,
Wait, what did you spend Bitcoin on when you were on vacation?
That's a great question.
I want to explore that. Did you buy a pizza with it?
And I didn't spend $10,000 for it. No, I went on a scuba diving trip. Okay. So normally a pretty expensive tour. I happened to be the only person on the tour, so it was like I got a private boat, I got a private attendant and a driver, and I paid in Bitcoin, I tipped in Bitcoin, and it ended up, and that was when it was at like 19,000. So it was that day. It just happened to work out where it was at the top, and I spent like $600 or $700 on a nice trip. Got some fish in, where was I? Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica.
That's super cool.
Just random at some place, and I saw the dive sticker out front. It said, "We accept Bitcoin." I had never transacted before. All I did was own, and I was like, "Oh well, I own Bitcoin.
It's
I'll
like an
spend
experiment
it." Yeah,
for you.
it was.
That's
kind of
cool.
And I was at a big point where I didn't have a bank there. I couldn't withdraw cash as easy. I would have to either use my credit card or use like a cash advance option, which I knew was going to be a high percentage. So I didn't really want to spend my cash. I wanted to go hit the casino later. Didn't want to pull it out from the credit card. So I was like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity to pay with my phone.
Do you think, because so Bitcoin was even substantially younger back then, and nobody was really accepting it as an acceptable form of payment. Do you think it has anything to do with Costa Rica's currency versus United States currency or anything like? Are there any rabbit holes there that you've gone down, or why were they accepting Bitcoin for diving?
Yeah, it
back
was early.
then?
It was early. You're right. Good point. Haven't thought about that specific transaction before in that way, but yeah, Bitcoin is, the price is exploding in America because I think we're all greedy and we want to see our money grow.
And we want to see it grow today.
Big.
To $1
yes,
billion.
today and big. Yes, everybody. Yeah, me included. But hey, let's just work our way backwards to your question. And it is exploding in other countries as well, but for different reasons. Some of those reasons are store of value. They want to actually hold their money and not physically have their money. So I think there's some value to be said in that.
Like kind of like India getting rid of certain denominations of dollar bill and things like that. You can't really delete a paper currency if it's a digital blockchain-backed currency.
Yes, unless you delete the internet. But then we got bigger problems.
That'd be hard to do.
So getting back to places that use Bitcoin in a different way, other than like means of transaction, we're going to people in third world countries that don't have a bank. There is no bank, and they still need to travel across borders or across maybe even country lines, county lines, whatever specific taxes, fees are going on there, or maybe even currency exchange. And so there's a lot of this movement that happens where they don't want to be holding any cash, A, for the danger of getting robbed, but also for the exchange rates. So you can still go over here and buy something in their currency if they're accepting your digital, and then you can come back over to where you live and still spend currency where they accept digital. So Bitcoin is solving lots of problems on those fronts. Now that's back to the transactional side. Moving back into the no banking and storage of value side, which I believe is the most important use of Bitcoin, is to just beat the government. And we don't really need to beat anybody. This is not an offense. It's just having a good defense. And in having a good defense, you're able to withstand them deleting the $1 or the current coin shortage we saw. That didn't even affect much value of people's lives, but it was a big deal. And it's illegal for a place not to give you your change. And it should be illegal to even put a sign up that says we're not going to give you change. And I was offended by that. I'm not going to make a big stink and try to get a company shut down for that, because honestly, they're not the problem. They're not the coin shortage. The coin shortage started somewhere much different than them. They're just a byproduct, and unfortunately, their business would tank or maybe just hurt if they didn't comply. Or they did comply and spend extra money to get coins. And extra money to have the
or like
guard
rounded up to give you change to make the customer whole or whatever.
But I try to think of the positive of even those bad situations and say, the credit card really solved a lot of the problem of change. It's quick transaction, but the interesting thing about those transactions, they're not settled that day. They're settled later. Could be days later. And Bitcoin settled within a few minutes. So people say, oh, credit cards are immediate. No, they're not. Never.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is.
The point of sale is immediate. The actual transaction is delayed.
Yep. And so we're already, as a society and as a people, trusting digital money. The trust is already there. And so it's not much of a jump to get into using Bitcoin. You can even buy Bitcoin inside of a CEO's bank that stores it for you and have a debit card attached to that. And now you haven't changed anything in your life, really. You're just spending a currency that's immediately settled. Therefore, it's better for the merchant. It's less work for the merchant. He doesn't have to compile all these receipts or keep them. It's all in a digital ledger for them to review in the past if they do get audited. And really, they shouldn't even really go through the audit. The IRS should just be able to come in, see the blockchain, see that this person has everything that either was or was not legit, and move on. So it should save time and work at every level, from the consumer, producer, and enforcement. So when you really break it down, it's got positive influences on every front.
I wonder too, like going down that tangent, I wonder how it will affect consumer behavior with purchasing too, because they say statistically people spend more money if they use a credit card versus cash, because there's something intangible like counting out cash versus swiping a card. What about like scanning a phone and giving a partial Bitcoin, like not even a full Bitcoin, like a 0.0 something Bitcoin to make a purchase? I wonder how that will change consumer spending behavior.
So you knew something about Bitcoin. You knew it was fractional.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a
know
plus. Good for you. Some people think they have to buy a $50,000 Bitcoin or whatever it is today. It dipped to 46.
I picked that up in like separate conversation just today because you were talking about how you recommended that someone buy 0.27 Bitcoin or something.
Yep. And the random number he just came up with, just over a quarter of a coin. Mathematically, if one human or one household owns 0.27 of a coin, you're basically in the top tier of the 1% of Bitcoin owners that will ever be. So in the world, in the planetary space, you will never be bought out. You can't be, if you never sell. If you stay above 0.27 and utilize your money above that, you'll never be out of the 1%. And so if currency does devalue on the rate that it is devaluing, like in Venezuela, millions of percent of inflation, sometimes huge percents in 1 year, and Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin does take over as the plan is, and we'll have all these other altcoins and stuff stealing market cap, but if it takes over even 1% of all the digital assets that are out there, and we end up hitting something like 400,000 a coin, million a coin, it's going to be pretty nice to be in the top 1% of that. And forever, you don't really have to worry that some institution's going to come buy it and I'll jump into the 2%, I'll jump into the 10%, and then corporations just buy you out. You're not going to be like that, because there's only ever going to be 21 million coins. A certain number of them are lost, and we could find that number relatively accurate. It's out there. And then our boy Satoshi also owns quite a few in a nice, cool wallet that anybody can go check out on the blockchain. And those coins were put there once, and that wallet has never moved. So it's pretty cool to see an original wallet. He might be the only original wallet out there.
How many coins does he have? Or she, or them, because there could be multiple people.
Them or they, we don't want to miscategorize, but I don't know the exact number. I could find it. We could have that.
That's super interesting.
That number out there, but it's a lot. It's not like 10. Yeah. I think he has over like 100,000, somewhere around there. So I'll check out on that from information. But
how many Bitcoin are in circulation right now?
18 million have been printed. I say printed, but I mean mathematically distributed through the ledger. So they've all been accounted for, and they're out there. But it's a really good question, because now we're only into 3 million left. So why did 18 million get put out, and why do we only have 3 million left? Well, the 10-year time scale, they let a lot out in the beginning, and then the halving that occurs kind of cuts that supply in half every certain number of blocks. I don't know the number of blocks. It's pretty techie nerdy thing if you know how many blocks, but it's about 4 years. So on average, every 4 years, give or take a couple days or weeks, you're going to get half the supply of Bitcoin released into the blockchain, and that would be then distributed, mined, and bought. So what we're seeing right now is a complete shortage. I believe that's why the price is in such a strong bull market right now, is we hit a point when there wasn't much Bitcoin being released and lots is being bought, and not much is being sold. So even some of the big sellers and bears that are wanting to push it down, they're just exhausted. And it's honestly, it's a very risky thing to short Bitcoin. I think it's rather a horrible idea, considering the best case scenario, it goes to zero. Whereas if you long Bitcoin, and what I mean by long is take a trade anticipating the price goes higher, your limit, if the best case scenario, it goes to infinity. There is no cap. Zero would be the cap if you short. You're done making money. And someone's going to sell at $1. So you're just never really going to make it to zero. And Satoshi's never going to sell. So zero is out of the question, really, unless... what was the point that you brought up earlier, which was a good one?
Yeah.
Satoshi takes the bag.
My number one concern with Bitcoin, let's talk about that, is nobody knows who this Satoshi person is. So what if this is like the greatest scam in human history, where he's going to release all these Bitcoin or whatever, and people are going to buy him up, and the market cap's going to go through the roof, and then he just like pushes a button and everybody's Bitcoin goes to his pocket and he becomes the world's first 10 trillionaire or whatever.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that concern, and I think it's an anxiety. It's an unknown, and as humans, we're fearful of what we don't know. And I can't give you that answer, Garrett. I've searched for that answer for a while. What I try to do, and let's loop back around to that.
Yeah.
Because it's a slippery slope, and I want to address it the best I can for people who are afraid at this point, because there's a lot of people that are just nervous to get into this market, justifiably.
I mean, I even throw myself into that category. Like, I'm nervous about the market, and I understand that it's new technology. I have to learn it. I have to understand it, because, I mean, that's my job and my responsibility to my clients to know this stuff, and I'm excited to learn about it, but there are like real valid concerns like that still.
Yeah, definitely. And so a couple of things. I think there's other greater concerns we need to deal with first. So we're not going to dive into those. We'll do that more of on a strict safety entry basis. But let's think of it maybe in the terms of like an airplane or something. First, let's make sure we get to the airplane, okay? Because we don't have to worry about it crashing on us and everybody else until we get there.
Yeah.
So let's get there safely in our vehicle. Let's get our luggage on the plane. Let's get in the plane, and then maybe right before I step on, let's validate those crashing concerns. Let's look up some statistics. Let's talk to our pilot, make sure he seems sober. And then go ahead and go sit down and have a glass of champagne and go ahead and wait till you land, right? So Satoshi's the crashing of the plane. We don't know. We don't. It will always be a pseudonym, invisible invention that, or person that invented something that it's hard to come to terms with. And I think as greedy humans, we don't understand why he would do something so great for people and not take anything in return. It doesn't seem like that happens as much. I think we all try to do it a little bit, and then we are so happy that we did it. But man, if I was holding a bag of 100,000 coins worth $50 million or more, it might be hard to keep holding. So it's very interesting. There's at least one point that we know we can look at the physical evidence of him never moving a single coin from his wallet. So there's one at least to start on.
Yeah, that's actually interesting and valid, because, I mean, 50 million is a lot.
I think it's more than that. I think he owns a lot of money in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll check that out. We'll get that number for you because most people don't like doing nerdy research to find that stuff, but I really enjoy it. It's just hard to find the time to do it because I'm worried about some safety stuff. Tax liability is a huge concern right now. Are they going to regulate it? When are they going to regulate it? What are they going to regulate and how much? How much is it going to be enforced even if they do say they regulate it? Because they don't know what they're doing either. And so we're going to see some heavy opposition hitting legal trading markets. I don't know if you guys were in the space a couple of years ago, but Binance is a big deal. It's a platform, and America just got delisted. So I was on this Binance. I had all kinds of money spread out all over it when I was just new and just doing my thing, right? Just throwing money at it like I'm gambling because I enjoy to gamble. So I'm throwing money at this thing, and it blows up in my face. I get an email that says Binance is delisting U.S. customers. And I'm like, what? Dang. I don't even really know how to get my money all back jumbled into one account and send it over because I got altcoins down the ying, things that I think are valuable, and maybe some that have made me money. Maybe all of them made me money because crypto is pretty easy to make money in. So it took me hours to figure out, I need a new platform to send these coins to because Binance has coins that other platforms don't list. So I had a problem of I need to sell. I got forced to sell. Otherwise, you just lose the funds because you can't log in. Now, I know there's ways, guys, to get a VPN and get on these places, but I'm going to try to do things legally the best possible way that I can so that I have an argument if I get audited.
Yeah, I think it gets a little weird if you're like going full-blown hacker in order to participate in the market. So...
Yeah, and good for them, man. They do a lot of work too. They find a lot of problems, and hopefully the coders are good enough to solve them. But jumping back to the safety discussion, there's some big concerns out there to tackle before we step onto the plane of Bitcoin tanking to zero. And for me, I do it in dollar increments. Some people are ready to do 100 a month. Some people are ready to do 1,000 a month, and the numbers vary in between for every single individual case. So we need to validate those people to their monetary investment and what that means to them. Because $100 to me means something different than it does to somebody else or somebody that's driving a Lamborghini, blah, blah, blah.
Or Satoshi with 50 million in Bitcoin.
Yeah. He might take the $10,000 for the pizza even if he's gluten-free and is not going to eat it, right? Because he knows the value of the coin. So there's a lot of interesting situations where people have different values for different things. Now, I get the comment of, it's so volatile, it's nothing. It's nothing coin. You don't have any tangible anything. Well, true to a point, but if I can trust it, and I did do my scuba diving trip off of it, it had value for me then.
Sure. And
it's also brought me small amounts of value all along. Also, the price has gone up, so there's value there. So it's got to be that $100 of value no matter what person you are. So if you only need $10 of value, well, let's go ahead and get you settled in there. If you need $10 million of value, we have a lot of work to do, and let's get there with a good foundation and build this right. And then when you're ready for the hundreds and millions, now we need to worry about the plane crashing. Because and this is kind of back, I think, where we originally started our conversation is you need to have good investments first before you touch any cryptocurrency at any dollar amount. Because if you're not settled and you're not ready for your cryptocurrency specific to go to zero, you shouldn't be in the market. Because not only is everything set up to simulate a potential Ponzi scheme, it could crash, and it is digital. There is no physical Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you need to be ready to go to zero. And I am. I think a lot of the people that I follow are ready for that. And it's fun to see what crypto people are investing in these days. Guns, antiques, chandeliers I've seen hold better value than fiat currency. So there's just pool tables hold better value than currency. So there's some real fun stuff, and you get to meet a lot of fun crypto people. I'm just trying to find more hard evidence, more peer group, people in my area that are interested, because I feel like I'm only communicating with people in New York and what their struggles are, which are actually very similar to California's crypto struggles, maybe even more. They're more regulatory there. And then just a different array of people. I haven't really found many local people at all that are into Bitcoin. So that's something maybe you guys leave in the comment section where you're at, where you're buying crypto, what platform you're using, and maybe we'll do a crypto meetup where let's just get together, talk finance, have a cup of coffee, a beer, whatever your preference, and let's learn something. Let's because I feel like we're not getting together enough. And I think you'll probably see that on your side as well. What do you think? People just not getting together to talk about investing is our age group.
I would agree with that. But again, it goes back to the so much noise in marketing and stuff. I would say that there's a lot of master classes and chat groups and things like that, but it's not really like real practical, results driven, truthful conversation. And so that would actually be really interesting to have like a true community of people where you talk about different investing opportunities and stuff, whether it's cryptocurrency, traditional securities, or a mix of both, and like actually have real results driven conversation.
So what would a result be? I mean, what's your best case scenario in say we do a meetup?
So just I'm thinking like getting people together and when you say meetup, I don't really care if it's in person or online, but literally being open to learning and not having like an agenda hidden in your back pocket type of thing, because that's really what I see is like there's one person who's got an agenda in putting together a group, and so then it kind of deteriorates the trust of the group and the validity of the group, in my opinion. So I'm talking about results driven as in like people being totally comfortable in sharing like here's what I've been investing in, here's what I'm comfortable with, here's why I'm comfortable with, or here's why I'm not comfortable with, without being like beat over the head with a baseball bat that they're an idiot for not participating in something. And just people like honestly seeking to understand, not seeking to push an agenda. And then also being comfortable to like share real results and stuff on how the performance has been and what they've accomplished with their investments as well. Because there's also a lot of I have my own friends and stuff where they've made $10,000 in Bitcoin in a couple days and they brag about it, and I hear nothing but how they outperformed my traditional investments. And then like 3 months later they stop bragging, which speaks volumes to me that they of course lost everything or whatever. But sometimes it's not about like the flash in the pan result. It's like, what have you been doing that has been working consistently and reliably for a meaningful period of time, not just like I made 11% yesterday alone on something, or I made 500% in GameStop for one day.
Let me just clarify, Garrett. That's why we're friends. What you said earlier about the no hidden agenda. You identify it. I feel like you live it, and it's apparent constantly. So, not to get all mushy on screen, but it's applicable. Because not only is it something that I value in you, but it's something that I want to do as well in my own life. I think that's why you and I are doing this, is to just continue to build each other up and hopefully build other people up at the same time for no monetary gain of any sort. I want people to get in safe. I think you do as well. And I think you and I understand the necessity to get in well and to do it right. And because we have experience on that front, that's why we're compensated. It's just any other work out there. You need a house built, you hire a carpenter. You pay him. You want it built better, you hire a couple carpenters that are, follow their experience level, and you pay them better. They'll do it twice. You pay somebody the top dollar they've ever made, they'll do it twice. I know I would. Yeah. So, respect. I appreciate it, and I hope that we can continue to keep that as our main goal going forward, because those 1,000% a week or whatever the ridiculous gains are, they're out there. And it but man, let's have our sell points already set. And let's not be proud of it. Let's make sure we can do it again tomorrow.
Yeah. And let's be careful that we're not losing the farm chasing that. Like we have to have our foundation done first.
Yep.
And obviously the risk spectrum is big, and what cryptocurrency is still falling in the speculative category. And so we just have to make sure we have our low, moderate, high risk stuff down, and our foundation is good, and our risk tolerance is dialed in, and we're comfortable with what we're doing.
All right, you ran through those 5 things so fast, I feel like they went right over people's heads, so let's slow down. We got 4 risk categories. First one, low, medium, and high risk investments, okay? These are all standard investments. Then there's cryptocurrency, which I consider extreme risk. Yeah. You consider speculative.
See, now, my word for it.
Don't say speculative to everyone, because your definition is extreme.
Yeah.
But they may see speculative as like, oh,
the norm
great, I'm going to
them.
go inspect it, or wherever their brain takes right. What did you hear from when he said speculative? Leave it down in the comments. I want to know, because I hear extreme danger.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people is, hey, we're in a category here that is so unknown, untested. It is verified. So that's cool. And it does have 10 years of history, so it's been a little tested. We got the 1 decade.
Yeah.
But so we're getting, I think we're creating a more healthy speculative investment.
Yeah. And we're also seeing traditional institutions jump into it. Financial institutions and like large publicly traded companies like Tesla deciding to get involved with it and stuff like that. So
yeah, 1.5 billion, a big deal. A pretty solid holding. He's down right now, I believe, and he's not going to sell. Neither is MicroStrategy, another company that is leading the front of companies that are getting in heavy. He owns 100% of his assets. At least that's what he says.
That's a high risk tolerance.
in Bitcoin. And he's down right now as well. And my guess is he's going to front the bill with his own money. I would imagine that he's banking on Bitcoin, period. And I think he'll go down with the ship with many of the other diamond hands out there, which is people who, like Satoshi, never are going to sell their coins. So there's these just solid diamond hands that are not going to give up. And I will never give up my 0.27. I won't. And if I need to, it's, I put into the considerations of the same ones I would if I were to sell my house. I'm going to do everything I can before I sell my house, basically. Yeah. And that's true what I try to instill in new crypto people as well. Before you go down all these rabbit holes of altcoins, because there's many of them. And yes, I know they 1000x a day. Seen it, been there, tried it, lost there. Not really much of an enjoyment when you just lose. But Bitcoin is something different. That store of value, knowing it's helping families and companies in places that are less privileged than ours is a reason to back it. And up to a certain point where if you are going to be in the 1% of it, you can really help a lot of people when it comes down to the dollar inflating 1,000,000% over the next 10 years or whatever it is. So I think the strong Bitcoin position is what I push first, and other things can come after that, especially if you're trying to get heavier and heavier into the coin. So cool. If you guys are interested in getting heavier and heavier into the coin, or just are looking for more information, we're going to be putting out a couple of these shorter ones, longer ones, some that are a little more nerdy and dive into the nitty gritty of platform trading, and a couple other options as well. We got more to talk about. I think that Garrett has a lot more professional advice to glean on what's happening on these trading platforms and stuff too, because there are some shady things going on where big platform dumps the coin one day to liquidate all these shorts, buys super low, and then just owns the market. It's seen it happen. And so it's important to know the comparisons from one platform to the other, know where you're trading and where your money's held, know your CEO, read the white paper of the coin you're reading. We got lots more information coming.
Yeah. So that's probably a good place to end it for today. And we appreciate everybody who's watching and commenting. I'm excited to see some of those comments and engage with you. And yeah, there's there's more content to come. I think what we'll probably do next time, and so I'm just going to say it now so we actually commit to doing it,
All right.
is we'll probably just talk about how to actually place a trade. Because I think one of the most funny things in having these conversations is I can trade stocks and bonds and mutual funds and exchange traded funds all day long from like my phone with my eyes closed, and I have no idea how to access a literal Bitcoin. Like, how do I buy or sell an actual Bitcoin? And people talk to me all the time and they're like, I got all this money sitting in a savings account because I have no idea what I can invest in and how I can open a brokerage account, or, you know, they don't even know a brokerage account is a thing. They're like, I don't have a 401k at work, so I don't know how to invest in stuff. But I have 4 Bitcoin, and I'm like, what? How did you figure out how to trade a Bitcoin, but you have no idea like a taxable brokerage account exists that you can invest in without having a 401k? So I think that would be a good topic for the next video, because there's probably a lot of people like me who have no clue how to even get involved if they decide to get involved.
Awesome. So just one last thing to add is we're going to try to be real accurate, formal in our comments, and just be there. So feel free to put down whatever you want, and we're going to respond the best we can, the quickest we can, and keep the thread going. You know, and we're going to need a little spread of exposure here. So go ahead and send the text link to any and all of your friends who would be interested and who can get some value out of this. And stay tuned for the next one, and maybe ride this Bitcoin roller coaster with us for a little while. Let's see where it takes us.
Cool.